I close my eyes and I can see a world that's waiting up for me, that I call my own. Through the dark, through the door, through where no one's been before, but it feels like home. They could say it all sounds crazy. They could say I lost my mind. I don't care, so call me crazy. We can live in a world that we design. 'Cause every night, the brightest colors fill my head. A million dreams are keeping me awake. I think about the world with me, a vision of the one I see. A million dreams is all it's gonna take. A million dreams for the world we're gonna make. Ooh. There's a house we can build. Every room inside is filled with things from far away. Special things I compile, each one there to make you smile on a rainy day. They could say it all sounds crazy. They could say I lost my mind, I don't care, so call me crazy. Run away to a world that we design. 'Cause every night the brightest colors fill my head. A million dreams are keeping me awake. I think about the world with me, a vision of the one I see. A million dreams is all it's gonna take. A million dreams for the world we're gonna make. However big, however small, let me be one of it all. Share your dreams with me. You may be right, you may be wrong, but stay that you bring me along. To the world you see, to the world I close my eyes to see. I close my eyes to see. Every night I lie in bed, the brightest colors fill my head. A million dreams are keeping me awake. Think about the world could be a vision of the one I see. A million dreams is all it's gonna take. A million dreams for the world we're gonna make. For the world we're gonna make. Ooh. For the world we're gonna make. Ooh. For the world we're gonna make. Ooh. For the world we're gonna make. Okay.
that this is Cragen Elementary School. This is Miss Acuna. And how many parents are here from Cragen? Thank you all so much. They have one more song for us, but this is one of Miss Supervisor Lee's school.
Actually, I went to Cragen
Oh my gosh.
a long time ago. That is my alma mater. Love it. Thank you.
One more song for us. Ready? Now we're going to bring some cheer this season. 1, 2, 3.
Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Hey! Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Hey! Dashing through the snow in a one-horse open sleigh. Over the hills we go, laughing all the way. Ha ha ha! Turns on bobtails ring, making spirits bright. Oh, fun it is to ride and sing a sleighing song tonight. Oh, jingle bell, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Hey! Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Hey! Hey! Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh.
Let's give another big round of applause to Cragen Elementary. Do you want to wait? You don't. Okay. All right. Thank you all, and thank you to the Cragen community for coming out. If you can, they're welcome to stay, but if you need to leave, I totally understand. But if we can catch a picture of the group in the lobby, please, that would be great. We wanted to thank you so much. Thank you. That was so fun. And I did not know that this was Supervisor Lee's alma mater, Cragen. We wanted to make sure to pick a school that was in your district, and coincidentally, we did okay. Yay! I'm so glad. So we do have, we're going to go ahead and ask for a roll call to establish quorum.
Supervisor Christie.
Here.
Supervisor Hines. Supervisor Lee.
Here?
Supervisor Scott.
Here.
Chair Grijalva.
Here.
Let the record show Supervisor Hines is not present. All other board members are present.
Thank you. We do, for the Pledge of Allegiance, Ismael Cisse is he's a 5th grader from Cragen Elementary School. You're also Cragen's student council treasurer, is that right? Yes. So if you want to go ahead and go to this mic right here, you can bring it down, and then we'll all stand up, and then you can start whenever you're ready. Okay.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much, Ismael. We really appreciate you being here. Are you a 5th grader?
Yeah,
Yes. Are you excited to go to middle school?
yeah.
Excellent. What's your favorite subject in school?
Science.
Science? I thought you would say choir because you're such a good singer. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you so much. I was like, there's a mic. Okay. And then for the land acknowledgement, Brooke Lee Harris, Supervisor Lee's daughter, is going to lead us in the land acknowledgement. And Roger, do you want to come up too? Yes? Okay, come on. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you. Thank you.
On behalf of Pima County residents, we honor the tribal nations who have served as caretakers of this land from time immemorial and respectfully acknowledge the ancestral homelands of the Tohono O'odham Nation and the multi-millennial presence of the Pasquayaqui tribe within Pima County. Consistent with Pima County's commitment to diversity and inclusion, we strive toward building equal partner relationships with Arizona's tribal nations.
Thank you so much. Did you all want to add anything about this last year in your mom's life, in your partner's life? I know, it's nothing like putting you on the spot. It's
You know, Sylvia is just an amazing person, and
Yeah.
she is so dedicated and so passionate. She dots every I, crosses every T, and she lives and breathes her commitment. And it shows. She's got a lot of pride in what she does, and that's remarkable as far as I'm concerned. I miss her. I'll be glad to have her back.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mom, for everything you've done for me and for Pima County and this past year. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I think this would be a really good time to, we have a little video, and I just want to, I want to turn it over to Ms. Lesher for a second.
Thank you very much, Chair Grijalva, and I think, shall we go to the video? Thank you.
Have a little video. Okay.
Hi, I'm Sylvia Lee, and I want to just say happy holidays to all of you. It has been an incredible pleasure in 2024 having the opportunity to serve here in District 3. Being from Tucson, born and raised, I had no idea how extensive and incredible the region of Pima County services. And I want to thank and recognize all the employees of Pima County. I want to also say to the communities that I've served this year, thank you. I want to acknowledge Ajo, Arivaca, Amado, Flowing Wells, 3 Point, Robles Junction, Sell, Picture Rocks, Marana, Y, Lukeville, and parts of Tucson. Lastly, I want to thank Jan Lesher, our county administrator, our deputy county administrators, Carmine DeBonis, Steve Holmes, Francisco Garcia, for your incredible leadership, your dedication, and hard work in making this county what it is now. I want to do a special thank you to Adelita Grijalva, our chair. You welcomed me with open arms. You assisted in helping me understand the lay of the land, and I really appreciate it. Rex, I really appreciate your thoroughness, your reaching out to the community. Matt, I really appreciate all you did to encourage me at the very beginning, especially to apply. And lastly, I want to say, Steve, it has been a pleasure. You're our one Republican on here, and you have really contributed helping us understand the difference of thought. So all of you, thank you for all you do, and I really wish you, your families, a wonderful 2025. Thank you.
Supervisor Lee, Sylvia, I want to thank you for your leadership, for your friendship, for your willingness to work together. Pima County had a real asset in you. We're going to miss you. I want to thank you so much for your service.
Sylvia, 2024 marks 20 years since we first met each other, and I feel extraordinarily blessed and grateful to you that we spent this year working on behalf of the people of Pima County together. You stepped up and took on a very important role when the people of Pima County and Pima County government needed you the most. I'm extraordinarily grateful to you for your service, but even more grateful to you for your friendship. Thank you.
Hi, Sylvia. I'm so glad that we've had the last year to work together. I think that thanks to you, thanks to your willingness to volunteer to be a part of this county board for the past 12 plus months, that you and all of us together have made Pima County a better place. But you have a lot to be proud of, and you will be missed. I will look forward to speaking with you regularly, if that is okay. ideas by you, and I encourage you to reach out to me if you think of anything at all, because it's been just a tremendous asset, really, for the county to have you with us on this board for the past year. And I thank you so much for stepping up and being willing to do this, because you didn't have to. You did not have to do this. This was a lot of time away from your family and from other priorities in your life. I'm so glad that you put your name in the hat, and that we appointed you to this position, and that we've had the great honor to work with you for the past year. Thank you.
One of the gifts that I received this past year was having the opportunity to work with and sit next to on the DM, Supervisor Sylvia Lee. She was a remarkable individual, an astute supervisor, caring, compassionate. She looked into all of the details and all of the facts on all of the issues. She was a great asset to the board. She's a great asset to our community. And with her thanks and appreciation I give to her, I also give her special thanks for being a good friend. Thank you very much, Sylvia.
Supervisor Lee, we just can't thank you enough for everything you've done this past year. I think you've only been here a year, but have done an entire term's worth of work on behalf of the people in District 3 and all the folks in Pima County. You have been such a friend to all the Pima County staff as well as to all your constituents. So you will be missed. Come back anytime.
Hi, Supervisor Lee. I'm so thankful that you've been part of the Pima County family over this last year. It's been amazing to meet you. I hadn't known you before this opportunity, and I'm just so thankful that
There's a little more to that, but we will send you the link. Yes. And so at this time we have a little something for you. Yeah. Do you want to come up to the front? Colleagues, do you want to join us up there?
This year that I had to actually put a bunch of notes together to remind myself of big chunks of it. And as we've noticed, was stated a moment ago, she has done a term's worth of work in just one short year. But what I think staff will remember forever is that Supervisor Lee was selected and sworn in one day, and I believe started meeting with county staff that afternoon. And it has continued. I think you've been to every department.
Yes.
And most of those departments she met with at their facility. That was not just calling people in to meet her, but you've been to wastewater, you've been to animal care, you've been to the health department, a few trips to Ajo, which I look at this and think about in the last year.
You joined me to
I did. We're still on the road, I think. But the Ajo Courthouse generator, AC units, a cool tainer, EV charging stations across the district, the new Robles Ranch clothing bank, and a roof on the Bud Walker Community Center, a couple of the projects that we were able to finish up with Supervisor Lee's leadership. Two things to highlight, I think, the leadership that you brought on the Arizona Board of Counties Coalition at a time when we were really revamping that organization to make sure that we recognize and focus on all the economic development opportunities with all of our border counties and how critical that is. And you've led diplomatic missions, if you will, into both Cochise and Santa Cruz County. So once again, not simply waiting here in Pima County for somebody to come see us, but out on the road and meeting with those important partners. And the last item I really want to highlight is Title 36. For some of you who've been involved with this, it is the involuntary commitment parts of the statutes. And they are a tool to make sure that not only individuals in our community who need help can get that, but provide for the safety of our community. And Dr. Lee has spent good chunks of this last year bringing in many partners, and the doctors and the folks from Crisis Response Center, Dr. Garcia, his team, everybody's been involved. And that effort is just starting as we go to the legislature to get some changes. But I think it's very clear that your impact will be felt for years to come, if, for Title 36, if nothing else. So, before we do this, anybody else want to, Steve, anybody? Well, see, because they're shy. Anywho, on behalf of all of us, we have this beautiful Pima County tile.
I love it.
Little something to remember us by in the years to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I want to hug all of you.
Thank you all.
Okay, for the record, Supervisor Hines has joined us. And thank you both for being here. Really appreciate that. Thank you all. We're going to go back on the agenda and pause for pause. Oh no.
Good morning, supervisors and members of the board. My name is Katie Hutchinson, and I am the Animal Care Placement Manager at Pima Animal Care Center. And as you guys know, this year has been an incredible year for all sorts of animals that have come into PAC, so it should be no surprise that we have a little reindeer recuperating with us today. His name is Comet, and he was found as a stray and was brought into the shelter. And our veterinary services fixed him up from his broken leg, and he is now ready to go home to hopefully a loving adoptive or foster home to heal up all the rest of the way. He's just 7 months old, and so it would be awesome if he could find a home for the end of the year. And as we head into the end of the year at Pima Animal Care Center, we are just prepping up. The end of the year is one of the ones where we see a really high increase in stray animals coming to the shelter. So we have lots of fun fostering and adoption opportunities. And we also spent last week going and vaccinating, microchipping, and giving wellness exams to over 500 animals from Pima County to make sure that as people go and visit around for the holidays and you have friends and family over, that you keep a close eye on your pets and make sure that they are all safe and healthy, just to make sure they don't stray from home as we go into the holidays.
Thank you. This baby is so expressive. Those eyebrows and a whole little gruff. Cutie patootie. Okay, agenda adjustments?
Chair Grijalva, there are no agenda adjustments.
Okay, thank you. So now we'll go to call to the audience. Thank you. So we have 3 speakers currently. Citizens attending the meeting shall observe rules of propriety, decorum, and good conduct. Any person making personal, impertinent, or slanderous remarks or who becomes boisterous while addressing the board may be removed by the sergeant at arms if directed by the chair. Such person may be barred from further audience before the board. Unauthorized remarks from the audience, stomping of feet, whistling, yells, or similar demonstrations shall not be permitted by the chair, who may direct offenders from the hearing room. With that, I have Michael Guyman, and then Ann Rose, and William Lake Wright. And if anyone else wishes to speak, please come up. I only have the 3 cards. Thank you.
Good morning. Chair Grijalva, members of the Board of Supervisors. My name is Michael Guyman. I'm President and CEO of the Tucson Metro Chamber. And I'm here to talk about our merger with Sun Corridor. So as you may have heard, probably have heard, we are merging with Sun Corridor, and I'm very, very excited about this merger. I feel that what it will bring will be a stronger, more unified voice. It will bring business attraction and business retention and growth under one roof. And it will also provide us, or give us the ability to provide even greater small business services to the community. So this has been a very interesting experience. I've gotten to know my colleagues, fellow CEOs across the country, in Tulsa, in Des Moines, in Lynchburg, Virginia, in Lexington, Kentucky, in Orlando, Florida, Nashville, Tennessee. These are all places where chambers have merged with their economic development organizations over the last 15 years. And what I've certainly found in the conversations with them is that they all say that this has been a long time coming. And I've certainly heard that out in the community where we have a lot of business organizations, and wouldn't it be best if a lot of these organizations looked at merging, and so I'm very proud to say that our boards have made that choice to do that. But in each of these communities, they do talk about being that stronger voice for the business community, being that place, that one-stop shop where businesses looking to relocate into new communities, as well as businesses within the communities, being that one-stop shop for those businesses to have those services. And also, I've learned a lot about how we ultimately, as this new organization, could provide even greater services for small businesses throughout our community. So again, very pleased to be here just to announce that, something very simple and easy, but I also wanted to express our sincere gratitude to the members of this board, as well as to the staff of Pima County, who has been a great partner in everything economic development and small business development. And I look forward to an even greater partnership with Pima County. We are going to be a partner. Sometimes we might have to be an agitator, but that's okay. But at the end of the day, we all want to be that voice and that champion for businesses throughout our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ann Rose?
Good morning.
Morning.
This is regarding your agenda item number 24. You want more money for $1 million for vaccination. Now, you know how I feel about those shots, the COVID shots. Which shots are you talking about now? The bird flu? Is this mRNA technology? We haven't really gotten the real scoop on that from the authorities at the federal level, and I'm still hoping that Pima County will not be so reckless and not evaluate the intervention that's been done the last 3 years with the COVID shots. So now, if you're introducing a new shot, let's say the bird flu, RSV, the flu shot, none of these are without their own little problems, but it's not really being checked into. Will that $1 million include working on the people who are vaccine hesitant? I wonder why people are vaccine hesitant. Maybe they know someone who's been injured or maybe even died as a result of the shot. So the CDC has a share approach where this is just too much. If someone's vaccine hesitant, it addresses the patient concerns and helps patients feel like partners in choosing to get their flu shot. Now, how about true informed consent? As to address the concerns that people might have if they're vaccine hesitant. True informed consent. What's in the shots? What are the effects of getting the shot? Things like that. So I know you're going to take the money. That is a slam dunk. I know you're going to take the money, but perhaps in that $500,000 for the shots and then $500,000 for whatever, perhaps it's one of those projects to look at what's happening to Pima County residents and taxpayers. This is ultimately our tax dollars at work. So please, let's not be so reckless. Let's evaluate the intervention, and perhaps there will be more trust among in the public health sector. Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Thank you. William Lake Wright.
Good morning. Good morning, Constable William Lakewright. It is my pleasure to be here today. I'm grateful to be here today, and it has been an honor to serve the people of Pima County for the last 4 years. Unfortunately, I'm coming at the end of my term, so I have 14 days left. What I wanted to mention is, I know a lot of you are aware of it. On October 23rd, while I was performing an eviction, I was attacked by a man who laid silently in wait and sprayed me with bear spray in the face from about 6 inches away. Bear spray is meant to stop a charging bear from 30 feet away, and I took the full brunt of it on my face. I suffered chemical burns to my face, my arms, my neck, my lungs, and most importantly, my eyes. Unfortunately, I have permanent scarring on my right retina, and my vision is still not back to normal. I have double vision. It has gotten better, but I've gotten to the best of 2025. I used to be 2015. Doctors say that it should get better, but right now reading is very difficult for me, so I'm ad-libbing this speech. So I'll try and keep my hand movements to a minimum. I'm grateful to be here today because, considering the alternative, I would much rather have been sprayed in the face with bear spray. He did have guns in the house. It could have gone a lot worse than it is. So I'm very grateful to be here. I have enjoyed almost all of the time that I've been a constable for the last 4 years. You and I have all spoken for a little bit. I'm going to readdress the deputy constable issue. For the safety of the constables, I really believe that we need to have deputies. I know there's a lot of plans out there, do away with constables, change it with the legislature. That's all well and good, but you're still going to need a transitional force, and I think the deputies would be a strong asset for that. They would be Pima County employees, they would be law enforcement officers, and then no matter what happens with the constable's office, you still have those people in there, the deputies in there to take care. There's also some changes that I think should be made with the constable's office. Pima County is the only county that does not require a polygraph, a psych eval, background check of all the other counties. So I think that needs to be put in place, as well as additional training with the deputies for the safety and for not only of the constables, but for the community as well. Because a lot of the things that happened to me can't necessarily be prevented. It's going to happen. But it would have changed how things went down. So I appreciate it. As I said, it's been a pleasure to work with you all. It's been an honor to serve for the community, and I wish you all a very happy holidays. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else that wishes to speak? So I'm seeing none. I'm going to go ahead and close the call to the public and ask my colleagues if they wish to ask staff to review a matter, ask that a matter be put on a future agenda, or address a criticism. Supervisor Scott and then Supervisor Lee.
Chair Grijalva, thank you very much. I want to thank Constable Lakewright for his service to Pima County and for raising some important issues in front of the board today, and would like to ask the county administrator to follow up with us about some of the items that Constable Lakewright said that the other 14 counties require of constables, and would like to find out if that's required of not just candidates for appointment, but candidates for election.
Thank you. Supervisor Lee.
Thank you, Chair Grijalva. I also want to thank Constable Lake Wright for his service for the last 4 years, and I just want to express how sorry I am with what happened to you. It is a dangerous job. I don't think we understand how dangerous it can be, but I just want to thank you for your service.
Thank you. Supervisor Christie, if you want to speak, you're going to have to put your hand up over the flowers like this. Just so you know. No. I love them, but like you have to go up higher. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to echo my thanks and appreciation for your service, Constable, and for your insight and direction as to how you view the Constable service in the future and the changes that you would like to see. I think they're invaluable information. And I, too, would echo my colleagues in our thanks, as well as an analysis of some sort from the county administrator regarding the suggestions that he made. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Thank you so much. We do not have executive session, but I'm sorry, I skipped over the proclamation that we have on the addendum, item 1. There's a presentation of proclamation regarding the proclaiming January 22nd through January 24th to be Arizona Photonics Days. I'll go ahead and move the item.
Second.
I have a motion, a second by Supervisor Scott. Discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed. Item passes unanimously. And there are some people on this list that I don't see here, so I didn't want to list all of the people that were here. But if you are here for this presentation, I will meet you down in front. Lucas Gruber. Here, I'm going to hand you that big thing. I will read the proclamation. Thank you. Whereas Tucson is home to world-class businesses, scientific and educational institutions, and decades of innovation and leadership in optics and photonics, and whereas the University of Arizona Wynick College of Optical Sciences is one of the premier educational and research institutions in optics and photonics, and whereas Tucson companies and organizations are on the leading edge of optics and photonics technology used in astronomy, medicine, advanced manufacturing, automation, meteorology, clean energy, communications, and quantum computing. And whereas Optics Valley and a committee of Arizona Technology Council is the Tucson industry cluster that facilitates Arizona's leadership through business acceleration, workforce development, startup support, and connections to local and global opportunities. And whereas Optics Valley mission is to catalyze and convene and connect optics, photonics, and supporting business interests throughout Arizona. And whereas the annual Arizona Photonics Days Conference in Arizona brings together Arizona optics companies, the Global Photonics Alliance, and international industry leaders to connect and learn about innovations in technology and applications in the science of light. And whereas Arizona Photonics Days, January 22nd through January 24th, 2025, is an opportunity to recognize advocates and supporters committed to both science and industry of optics and photonics in Southern Arizona and beyond. Now therefore be it resolved that the Pima County Board of Supervisors hereby proclaims January 22nd through January 24th, 2025 to be Arizona Photonics Days and encourages everyone in Pima County to learn more about the science of light. Passed and adopted this day, 17th day of December, 2024. Thank you. Thank you very much. Do you want to say something and I'll hold that? We'll trade.
Well, thank you very much for making it through this long text with all the very unfamiliar words. I'm very appreciative of this proclamation, and on behalf of my co-chair, Katie Schwartz, I'm very thankful to continue on the organization of this conference that celebrates really the photonics and photonics industry that is very, very strong actually in this county. Southern Arizona plays a very dominant role, has really worldwide impact with photonics, and photonics in general is technology that allows many things that we take for granted to actually happen, like our cell phones would not be here without photonics, our computers would not be here without photonics. It's very little recognized, but I hope that you guys will look at it and research it, maybe look it up and see that there's a lot of things happening in this county. So thank you very much for this proclamation.
Being here, appreciate that.
Yeah.
Traja.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so we have people in the audience specifically to address item number 11 and item number 20. So if it's okay with my colleagues, we'll go ahead and just jump to those items very quickly. As a reminder, we don't have executive session in either agenda. So item number 11 under the constables is the appointment of constable for Justice Precinct 9. This would be effective January 1, 2025. What is the pleasure of the board?
Madam,
Sorry.
Supervisor.
Supervisor Christie.
Madam Chair, would it be appropriate at this time to nominate one of the individuals?
Yes.
Accordingly, I would like to move that we accept as a constable for replacement to the constable force, Matthew R. Lev. Is that his pronunciation?
Mm-hmm.
Matthew R. Lev.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I have a motion by Supervisor Christie, a second by Supervisor Scott. Discussion? I did have the opportunity to meet with both candidates. I want to thank both of them. Both of them are here. Thank you so much for your presence. And I do think that it's important for us to consider some of the suggestions that have been made. Even the background check was not something that was done before we requested it here on the dais. And so I don't think that there is a process that we can impose if someone runs for elected office. But when it is an appointment process, I do think that we have a little more discretion in that process. Not for this case, obviously, but I do think it's worth looking into. All right, so we have a motion and a second.
Sure, girl.
Supervisor Scott.
I wanted to share with my colleagues a couple of thoughts, and also I have a request of the county administrator. I really have come to believe that the position of constable, which dates back to territorial days, is archaic and not at all suited to our times. As someone who is active in Arizona's County Supervisor Association, I have heard colleagues across the state express similar beliefs. Constables are constitutional officers, and doing away with the position would require state action. My hope is that county officials and legislators will take up this cause in the near future. None of this is to denigrate the service of our constables. They take on essential and often dangerous tasks every day. During this board's term of office, one constable died in the line of duty. Recently, and we heard from this gentleman this morning, we saw another constable attacked and injured while attempting to serve a notice of eviction. Other constables have shared with many of us stories of their own brushes with danger. Constables can call for assistance from police departments or the sheriff's department whenever they feel that they need it. I would like the county administrator to report to the board on whether or not there are common procedures that all Pima County constables adhere to when requesting law enforcement support. When reporting to the board, I would also ask for Ms. Lesher to let us know how local law enforcement agencies prioritize calls for assistance from constables. As elected officials, constables are not required under state law to have experience in law enforcement. Their jobs, as we have seen, are inherently dangerous and at the very least call for experience dealing with potentially volatile individuals and situations. For this appointment, we have two applicants, both of whom have been of service to our community in different capacities. I spoke with both applicants, and I thank them for putting their names forward. Given all I have heard and seen since becoming a supervisor and what I heard during both candidate interviews, it is my belief that Mr. Lev is the more qualified applicant. We should appoint him to the position. Arizona state law allows both Mr. Lev and Mr. Acuna to apply for the position and to seek election by the voters. This board has the right to apply a higher standard when making appointments to constable positions. I encourage my colleagues to take into account our very telling experience with the roles of constables and to vote to appoint Mr. Lev. Thank you, Chair Grijalva.
Any other comments? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Is that a yes, Supervisor Hines? Okay, great. Thank you. All right. With the congratulations, Mr. Lev. You've been appointed unanimously, and it would be effective January 1. Congratulations, and thank you for applying, Mr. Acuna. We appreciate that. Okay, so now we'll go on to item 20. Stratford Artworks, Inc., to provide a joint development agreement for renovation of Teatro Carmen, extend contract term to 12/23/25 and amend contract language. This is general fund amount of $37,500. I'll go ahead and move the item.
Second.
I have a motion and a second by Supervisor Scott. Discussion?
Chair Grijalva.
Supervisor Scott.
Just want to point out that the $37,500 is going to be paid to Stratford Artworks over the course of a 12-month period, and that the remaining half of the $75,000 fee for the work that they're doing is going to be raised from private donors who share the county's desire to see Teatro Carmen restored as a cultural arts facility in our community. So thank you, Mr. Stratford, very much for all your hard work.
Thank
Madam
you.
Chair?
Supervisor Christie.
Yeah, I think this is a terrific project. I think it's needed for our community, and it's going to be a great asset. However, I have stated in the past, and I'm going to be consistent in my voting, that I don't believe personally or from a county standpoint that the county should be involved in such a renovation project deep within the city limits, and that the city should be leading in this. Again, it's a terrific project, but I think my difference is more of a philosophical issue on the funding source and the leadership source that's coming from the county. Thank you.
Thank you. So I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
Item passes 4-1 with Supervisor Christie voting no. Thank you. So do we have anyone else waiting on an item specifically? All right. So then what we're going to do then is take a little moment to take a break. And we have some cupcakes in the back for Supervisor Lee. So we'll be back in about 15 minutes. Okay? Okay, thank you all so much for indulging that break. We're going to go back on the regular agenda. As a reminder, we don't have executive session. Approval of the consent calendar. I'll go ahead and move the item.
Second.
Have a motion and a second by Supervisor Scott. Discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed. Item passes unanimously. Item number 8, Board of Supervisors sharing updates on committees and commissions we're participating in. Any updates?
Chair Gerhalva.
Supervisor Scott and then Supervisor Lee.
Thank you. As the board knows, I represent the county on both the PAG Regional Council and the RTA Board, and not only because of the loss of Mayor Honey, but also because South Tucson is transitioning into new leadership and has a new mayor. The officers of both the Regional Council and the RTA Board decided to postpone the next meeting, which was scheduled for December 5th. And so we are not scheduled to meet again until the end of January. Also wanted to say that I also represent us on the Sun Corridor Board, and I was there when they met to unanimously endorse the merger with the Metro Chamber that Mr. Guyman spoke to earlier in Call to the Public. And although very supportive and excited about the potential with the merger, I did ask Ms. Lesher if she and other staff would follow up with Sun Corridor staff to see the implications for the merger for our contractual agreement with Sun Corridor. And the board will remember that when we approved our last contract, there was a document presented to us. It was a document that was crafted by Mr. DeBonis and Mr. Vescovi-Chiordi on behalf of the county, and by Ms. Dumont and Mr. Welsh on behalf of Sun Corridor, and it showed the alignment of responsibilities between our Economic Development Department and Sun Corridor with regard to the terms of that contractual agreement. And so I know that they'll be following up with Sun Corridor and then getting back to the board on what we can expect in terms of any implications for the county from that merger. Thank you, Chair Gerhalva.
Thank you. Supervisors Lee and then Supervisor Christie.
Thank you, Chair Grijalva. I just want to report that the Arizona Border Counties Coalition was invited, well, actually, we invited ourselves to Santa Cruz County. We took a trip last Monday to see the new port, and we met with the Santa Cruz Port Authority, and Luis Ramirez was leading us through this entire endeavor. And I want to acknowledge Heath and Kelly from our Economic Development Department who were intimately involved. But there's a lot of opportunity for Pima County to be part of the economic growth that is coming out of the border. And so I didn't realize this, but we actually got to tour Chamberlain Distribution, which that organization supplies so much of the fruits and vegetables around the country. And in the summers, in June and July, he said that every Walmart has the grapes that they distribute from Mexico, every Walmart in the country. So I really think there's economic development opportunities for Pima County, and I hope we continue to look at that because there's going to continue to be growth there as along with Cochise County. And again, I think there will be a tour of the San Luis port, which is already underway in construction. I believe the feds are putting in $2 billion of infrastructure for those ports. I didn't know this, but in the Santa Cruz border, the only railroad from Mexico to Arizona goes through the port of Nogales. In addition, I didn't realize this, but I forget the total amount of fentanyl that they have, but what they've requested are these, they're like huge x-ray machines that these cars go through. There are 6 points of checkpoints, 2 dogs on different ends. You've got this X-ray machine, and you can actually, we went in and saw what they see, and then eventually they said AI is going to take the place of humans looking at that because they can spot the anomalies. But all I have to say is there's 6 points of checks. So, things still get through, obviously, but they catch a lot. So, thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Christie.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As my colleagues know, our office has been very concerned and very instrumental in the issue of homeowners insurance in fire-prone areas, wildfire-prone areas, particularly Summer Haven and now down into the foothills and Vale and even into Green Valley. And we've been very strong advocates for the wildfire program. And I just want to point out, I think, which has been a real feather in the county's cap, and Supervisor Scott knows about this as being involved in the County Supervisors Association. The Department of Insurance and Finance has formed a subcommittee to deal with this issue of rising homeowners insurance premiums and the availability of homeowners insurance premiums. And they formed a subcommittee to analyze and to monitor this situation. And out of all the 15 counties in Arizona, Pima County is the only one that actually has an appointed member from the Pima County administration. That's Carmine DeBonis. So I think it's a real, as I say, a feather in our cap to have such an appointment made on our behalf in Pima County. And I thank the Supervisors Association for forwarding this issue to the legislative agenda, and more importantly, to have someone right here in Pima County on that committee in Deputy Administrator DeBonis's position. So I think this is a good thing, and I'm looking forward to trying to mitigate and resolve this issue of homeowners insurance. Thank you.
Any other? All right. Thank you so much. Now we're going to go on to item number 9, Pima County Climate Action Update. Administrator Lesher.
Thank you very much. Chair Grijalva and members of the board, Sarah Davis is with us today, and we'll walk you through an update on the work with Pima CAN.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board, Administrator Lesher. It is an absolute honor to be here. The last time we were with you was October 15th. And Supervisor Lee, it's an honor to be here on your day. Thank you for all of your commitment to all of us. So this will be a very quick update. And next slide, Nico, please. Last time we updated you, we had just completed our Sustainable Action Plan for county operations with really notable investment in our sustainability priorities. But not only that, we met and exceeded our goals in our carbon reduction across our county facilities, fleet services, and our regional wastewater, which was really notable. And we are well ahead of schedule, so much so that we are almost at our 2030 carbon emissions goals as detailed in our SAPCO plan. One thing that did happen in 2023 is the county administrator, in alignment with the Board of Supervisors commitment, specifically Resolution 2022-25, set forth with support and operational planning from the deputy county administrators to align the Climate Action Executive Team, which has now grown to 24 department directors across the county in a true enterprise-wide approach. When that group first got together, they advanced this work by setting forth the directive for the Climate Advisory Committee, which is key subject matter experts, management staff, and liaisons across the county to better align our goals, strategies, and operationalize the work. In 2024, when surveyed, this group really highlighted focus areas in adaptation and hazard mitigation planning. So what you saw in 2024 was a revisit of our carbon goals, extreme heat, comprehensive work effort, invasives and wildfire, and a reinvigoration of our water working group. So those are the 4 priorities that were set forth in 2024. What you'll see coming up very, very soon is a comprehensive interdisciplinary report from an 11-department working group around invasive species and wildfire mitigation, and our water working group, which I believe is set forth to be 9 interdisciplinary departments working on our water priorities. We celebrated the growth of those teams from 9 original departments to 24, and we are positioning ourselves to complete the final action item of Resolution 2022-25, which is expand our Sustainable Action Plan of County Operations to our Climate Action Plan for County Operations. We are focusing on those priority areas, but we are also looking at plan alignment, connecting to Pima Prospers, our infrastructure plan, our capital improvement plan, wildfire protection plan, to make sure all of those plans are in alignment and support workforce growth, economic vitality, and public health impact. And most importantly, make sure that we are addressing the needs of our disproportionately affected or vulnerable communities. Next slide, please. So one big notable thing that we will be doing in early 2025 is we are going to brand this all for better ease of use and public access to Pima CAN, which is Pima Climate Action Now. That's the title of our priority climate action plan, but we felt across the interdisciplinary group that Pima CAN should be the name that the public can find anything, and that includes our planning efforts, but it also includes critical resources. For example, think of heat season, where we really do have an operational website that gets people to critical resources that they need. So this provides a hub-like approach. We've got over 50 county departments, 24 of those are supporting this effort. Invasives and wildfire really presented a real opportunity. We've got 11 departments with content on their website, and if we do have a risk scenario, we need a place that people can go and be directed to those in a more ease of use sort of fashion. Pima CAN, as highlighted earlier, is representative of the Climate Action Executive Team, which is the directors, the advisory committee, which are our liaisons and management team, and also the Green Stewards, which is how do we grow the workforce knowledge around this work, and how do we align what the staff knows and how the staff is operationalizing this with the priorities set forth by the directors. So you'll see a climate hub in early 2025, again, making it a critical response information tool, but also a publicly accessible tool that promotes continued engagement. Next slide, please. So 2025 to 2030 is going to be a very exciting 5-year period, and we have a couple of deliverables that we are setting forth for ourselves to present to you over the next year for the next 5. The first of which is the board-directed Climate Action Plan for County Operations, otherwise known as the CAPCO. As you'll remember, the county got an EPA $1 million planning grant award, which brought us our priority climate action plan, which is a regional plan with multiple jurisdictions, municipalities, and tribes, led by the county with over 25 critical projects to reduce carbon emissions. So you'll see the comprehensive version of that plan this year. And as we are developing those plans, integrating these, especially with our 10-year plan, Pima Prospers, our infrastructure plan, and our capital improvement plan. Again, those projects need to be malleable, scalable, and importantly, data-driven to make sure we're meeting our goals and we can pivot where we need to. Next slide, please. So this is a model to show the interconnectedness. I think when we first got the group together to expect what we can see in 2025 to 2030, the Climate Action Executive Team really highlighted some key priority areas, one of which is carbon, the other is water, renewable energy, transportation and air quality, and resilience to extreme heat. We added invasives and wildfire to this group of priorities as well. In addition to solid waste, recycling, land use and built environment, and sustainability efforts. When those same directors were surveyed around where we can modify county operations, energy efficiency and our buildings was number 1 in terms of what we can make actionable, and renewable energy with energy efficiency. Water continues to be a top priority overarchingly. So what we've done thus far, this is kind of a model of, we've addressed carbon with a plan, we've addressed extreme heat with a regional plan as well. Invasives and wildfires, what you'll see next. The interdisciplinary team has been working diligently. Supervisor Christie highlighted that we do now have Deputy County Administrator DeBonis actively engaged with the Department of Insurance and financial institutions. Part of the priority for the invasives and wildfire effort is to revisit our community wildfire protection plan and really augment our data capacity. I think one thing that we're seeing across the effort is that we're all operating on older data, and the newer data, especially if we build the capacity to look at invasive species, I will quote the Conservation and Land Resources Department, is staggering. So being able to enhance that capacity so that we can inform our response is critical. Water will be directed into kind of key focus areas, so supply and conservation, and from that, drought and scarcity, and from that, how are we looking at demand and demand management of our water resources, and where are we diverting to alternate water uses such as reclaimed wastewater, especially in golf courses or larger areas like that, and continuing to do restoration, recharge, and innovation. I think the Elvado the Elvado Wash Basin was a real innovative opportunity that the county delivered and won awards in. And if we can continue to do these multi-use planning efforts, it is a win for all of us. So what we'll be tackling early next year is renewables and energy efficiency, specifically across our county buildings, and looking in the later spring around transportation and air quality. We will also be looking at materials and how we can reduce our waste and enhance our recycling footprint. Next slide, please. So this is a model of how we are growing our 2022-25 SAPCO final action item. I'm thrilled to say this team has succeeded in most of the directives from the Board of Supervisors resolution, and this is the final one to create our climate action plan for county operations. We will be keeping the chapters as such: carbon, water, heat, invasives, and wildfire. We will figure out how to kind of reframe our landscapes chapter and our land use chapter, and we will keep materials. Workforce will be integrated into all of these priorities, as will public health and how we're doing our work so that we have in mind our public input and our disproportionately affected communities. We will be adding renewables and transportation components as well. We just met with a group of directors and the advisory committee to look at successes from the SAPCO and what we really want to frame the CAPCO up to be. And I think critical feedback from that was doing this together makes us better in these efforts, and the enterprise-wide approach and the commitment from the board and the county administrator and the deputy county administrators to keep growing this effort so that we are an interdisciplinary enterprise-wide team positions us in a really powerful way to do this work for our community. The other thing that was very, very clear across these groups, so you'll see a lot of this in 2025, is to better engage the community on what the county is doing in this effort and how we can continue to meet the needs of our residents and also create operational projects that are scalable and that we can really have a data-driven impact. So with that, Miko, I think that is the last slide. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Colleagues, questions? Supervisor Scott.
Thank you. And Ms. Davis, thank you very much for your leadership in this arena and all your hard work. In future updates, I'd really like to hear some more about two particular areas. One would be interjurisdictional efforts. I mean, there was a reference on one of the slides to that moving forward with regard to regional collaboration. But just as two examples, the county is not a water provider, but we are a sewer provider, and we do work with the water providers on conservation of that most precious of resources. Another example is with invasive species. because we're surrounded by so much federal and state land, we've got to be working in partnership with the federal and state governments and the other Pima County governments in dealing with that issue. So we'd just like to hear more moving forward about interjurisdictional efforts. And then there were a lot of references throughout your presentation to the impacts on marginalized or high poverty communities dealing with climate change. So perhaps some more explicit reference to how the Climate Action Plan will align with the Prosperity Initiative, especially given that one of the 3 cross-policy strategies explicitly references climate change. Thank you, Chair Grijalva.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you so much. And then I know that this item is going to be coming up every 2 months. So I think that is important beginning today. So we'll see you in 2 months.
Madam Chair, members of the board, thank you.
Thank you for a very thorough presentation. Appreciate it. We do have Ms. Moulton and Mr. Ackerley here. So if we can go ahead and skip to item 12, the monthly financial update. Administrator Lesher.
Thank you very much, Chair Grijalva and members of the board. Director Moulton is here to walk us through this report for the month.
Good morning, Chair, Supervisors. What we have for you today is the financial update for December 2024. Next slide, please. This is the period 4 financial summary. This is based on the October data. You can note that total revenues are projected to be $776 million at the end of this fiscal year, which is approximately $2 million more than was budgeted. We are slightly under budget in tax collections, tax revenue, but we are seeing an additional $2 million in additional state shared sales taxes and an additional $1.5 million in departmental revenues, with the majority of those departmental revenues coming into the Sheriff's Department. On the expenditure side, we are about $1.5 million under budget, so that's a good thing. You will note that the minimum 17% of expenditures changed from last month's presentation. It went from 100 million to 104. That's because we have finally closed the books on fiscal year 2024. You will be receiving the audit, the annual financial comprehensive report from finance that has been audited by the Auditor General at the end of this month. So we updated that number based on the new information that we have. Next slide, please. Oh, sorry, one more note. Could you go back for just a second? At the last board meeting, you had asked whether all of the departments were going to be meeting their 2% reduction that was included in the budget. We have a number of departments that we are still working with, but we believe that those 5 departments will indeed come in where they're supposed to. The one department that will not is the sheriff. The sheriff has indicated that they are going to be over budget $5.7 million this year as of this time in the year. If you recall, last year they also indicated that they were going to be about $6 million over budget. Last year, they were able to come in under budget. At this point, they are not indicating that that is going to happen. The over budget condition is primarily due to overtime, fuel, and food. And we continue to work with the Sheriff's Department on a monthly basis, meeting with them, helping monitor and or look at their costs. But that is their report to us and to you.
Chair Grijalva, can I ask Ms. Moulton a question about that?
Yeah, Supervisor Scott.
Thank you. Ms. Moulton, in the memo that we got from Ms. Lesher attached to this item, it says overtime, including initial appearance pay, is forecast to exceed the sheriff's budget by a little over $2.6 million. Can you remind the board and the public what initial appearance pay is? Or Ms. Lesher can.
Supervisors, initial appearance pay is the additional money that a deputy sheriff receives when they appear in court for the first time, hence the initial appearance pay. There is also initial appearance pay that is paid to I believe some of the lawyer groups as well. So it is pay in addition to their normal pay for when they show up in court for the first time related to a case.
So it's when the first time a defendant appears before a judge, right?
It's the first time the law enforcement officers appear when a defendant appears before the judge.
All right, thank you.
Did anyone else have any other questions on the financial summary itself? Next slide, please. As you know, every year the state shifts costs to the county as part of their budget reconciliation process. In fiscal year 24-25, this increase was approximately $11 million. Per policy D2213, the board has established that we review these costs and then potentially recoup them through increases in the primary property tax rate the following year. So what this slide represents is finance has calculated what those costs would need in increased taxes to recover that $11 million. At the present time, we believe that that cost would be 9.5 cents on the primary property tax rate if we move forward with the policy as outlined with the board policy. So it's just informational as we begin to prepare the 26 budget. Next slide, please. The board passed another policy this past summer on vacant positions. This is the second quarterly report. As you can see, there are a number of positions in departments that are past that 240-day threshold. There are 35 in the general fund, 47 in non-general fund, and another 29 that are grant-funded positions. Within the general fund, there are two departments that make up the majority, or are the two largest departments that have vacant positions that are over that 240-day threshold. They are facilities management with 9 positions, most of which are classified. Most of facilities positions have been classified as hard to fill. These 9 positions have not been. The other department that is high on the list is finance. Finance has 5 positions that we have not been able to fill, 3 of which are in internal audit. We are working with the HR department to see if we can get those classified as hard to fill positions. In the non-general fund category, there are 2 departments that also make up the majority of those. One is the health department with 14 positions, and the Pima County Attorney's Office with 24 positions in the non-general fund category. In the grant-funded positions, again, we have 2 departments, and they are health and the county attorney's office. Again, 12 positions in the health department and 11 positions in the county attorney's office. This information and the detailed positions was provided to all of the departments at the beginning of the month. Requests for appeals were due to county administration on Friday the 13th. We hope to have all of those responses or appeals approved or reviewed in the next week, and we'll be reporting to the board on January the 7th with what positions are being eliminated, which ones will be retained for another quarter. Are there any questions related to the vacant positions? And next slide, please. And finally, the last slide is on economic indicators. We have issued our December report yesterday, but I included this slide for informational purposes. You can see that half of the indicators are favorable or stable, and half are unfavorable. Inflation has moved to a stable condition, which is good. It, however, still remains higher than what the Fed would like to see. Housing has also improved slightly, but it is still in an unfavorable position due to increased housing costs, increased interest rates, even though the Fed has reduced interest rates just recently and has another meeting this month where they may or may not take another cut at that. Those have not all made their way down to the consumer level at this point. So this is where we stand right now. It is a better position than we were in last quarter, but still not the best. So that concludes my report. Are there any questions that I could answer?
Thank you. Do you have any questions? All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate the good news. Now we have item number 15, investment in cash balance reports. This is the Treasurer Ackerley is available if we have any questions, and this is the cash balance reports for September, October, and November of 2024. Supervisor Scott.
Thank you. Treasurer Ackerley, thank you so much for being here. Just wanted to ask, with regard to any statutory guidance or constraints on your office or any treasurer's office with regard to investments, what do state statutes say about the investments that you can or can't do as a county treasurer?
Thank you, Madam Chair, Board of Supervisors. The statutes provide that we have to invest in safe investments, and they go further in some cases. So, for example, school districts' bond funds, whether it's debt service and or the bond proceeds, those, in fact, funds have to be invested in vehicles that have the full faith and credit of the United States government. So as you look at the top half of that summary I provided you, and mind you, the cash reports that get filed with the clerk, the cash reports that you see there are but one small portion of the total package of reports that gets filed with the clerk of the courts each month. But you see there shows all of the designated funds on an investment report. And so if you look at that summary that I provided, the top portion there, you'll see that it breaks down. The bulk of the money that we have invested is in Arizona State Treasurer's local government investment pools. And within that money, tucked into some of that money, are funds that specifically are designated as full faith and credit funds. So a number of the school districts, the funds that need to be separated and accounted for separately are in those local government investment pools designated as full faith and credit. Right? With the money that the county has in its general pot of money, the restrictions are a little bit less, right? But such that we can't speculate on equities. They have to be fixed asset investment vehicles in one form or another. There has to be, we cannot put the principal at risk to the extent that, let me put it this way. It's not that the principal isn't at risk. When you buy a security, especially you can buy, with some county funds, you can buy corporate bonds. So the principal is ultimately at risk, but those have to be investment grade bonds. You cannot invest in bonds that are not investment grade. And it has been the policy of this office to do that very rarely. It has to be a remarkably good deal in order to go into a corporate bond. It has been my predecessors and my view that investing in U.S. agencies, Federal Farm Bureau, Federal Home Loan is a much more attractive option because of the safety.
I appreciate that. And just to follow up, Chair Grijalva, I wanted to make a request of Treasurer Ackerley, Ms. Lesher, and Mr. Brown. Could your three offices collaborate on a memorandum to the board on what are the statutory guidelines, limitations for treasurers' investments. I don't think we've ever seen anything like that, and it would be instructive to me and I'm sure to my colleagues, including the incoming supervisor, to know what are the statutory guidelines and limitations for investments. Thank you, Treasurer Ackerley. Thank you, Chair Gall.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. Thank you so much for being here. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say my thanks to the members of the board for the trust that you placed it in me, and it has been my honor to serve the taxpayers of Pima County for the treasurer over this past year.
Thank you for your service. And I do want to make note that if we'd like to have this presentation on a fairly regular basis, we should work with, make suggestions to our county administrator so we can figure out if we want to do quarterly, because we had our first presentation not too long ago, and I just wanted to check in with you all to see when you want to have that happen. Okay, thank you so much. All right, now we're going to go back on the agenda. Item number 10 is a petition for relief of taxes. I'll go ahead and move the item.
Second.
Have a motion, a second by Supervisor Christie. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item passes unanimously. Item numbers, you want to take 13 and 14 together?
Sure.
Okay. These are revisions to personnel policy regarding premium pay, number 8-102 premium pay and number 8-105 annual leave. I'll go ahead and move the items.
Second.
Have a motion, a second by Supervisor Scott. Discussion. Supervisor Lee.
Thank you, Chair Grijalva. I do want the board to consider it at some point for our rural areas. And I've talked to Administrator Lesher about this. The Sheriff's Department, I'm not sure exactly where, but I know in Ajo, they gave differential pay for, because of being, I don't know what the term is, but they are in a remote rural area, and it's less likely, because they aren't in an urban core, to attract as many deputies to that area, so they were able to give a bump. And I'd like us to consider that for some of our areas that have, librarians, our parks and rec, we have transportation, facilities management, other areas, for consideration of doing something similar in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item passes unanimously. Item number 16 is a State of Arizona Early Childhood Development American Rescue Plan funds. I'll go ahead and move the item.
Second.
Do we have an opposition to moving both together?
No.
Okay, so that's 16 and 17. I'll go ahead and move both items, and Supervisor Scott seconded. I do want to bring this up since it is an item about some PEEPS funding, that I really want us to look at sliding scales. I know that we move the criteria up from 200 to 300% of the median federal poverty. So but because of a reduction in state funds, it looks like we're going to have to serve less students. And so I do think that this is a really opportune time to go back to looking at the sliding scales. I know it's more work, I think, for staff, but I feel like parents who can pay a portion of their childcare want to be able to, and then that would allow us to serve more students. So I just wanted to bring that up as we were talking about both of these items. Any other discussion?
Chair Grijalva.
Supervisor Scott.
I'll just remind my colleagues that the States County Supervisors Association unanimously, for the second year in a row, forwarded a letter to the governor encouraging her to prioritize not just early childhood education, but childcare in the DES budget, and to make that a priority in her negotiations about the budget with the legislature, and to also, and I realize this is more difficult now that ARPA funds are going away, to try and leverage as many federal funds as possible, which I know she and the legislature were able to accomplish last year. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
Item passes 4-1 with Supervisor Christie voting no. Item number 18 is bond counsel services. I'll go ahead and move the item.
Second.
A motion is second by Supervisor Scott. Discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item passes unanimously. Item number 19 is Arizona Healthcare Cost Containment System, amending the language, no cost. I'll go ahead and move the item.
Second.
Have a motion, a second by Supervisor Scott. Discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item passes unanimously. Item number, we've addressed 2021 is a TMC emergency room enhancements. I'll go ahead and move the item.
Second.
Have a motion, a second by Supervisor Scott. Discussion.
Madam Chair,
Supervisor Christie.
I think this is kind of misleading as far as what the description of the item is in the agenda. It's really not directly to enhance the emergency room as it states in the agenda item, but more specifically, it's designed to provide money to the Pima County Health Department to share medical records from the hospital with them, and it's really not emergency room. So I think it's important that that should be identified much more transparently than it is.
So do you have a suggestion? Because I think it's the enhancement part, but maybe we can add data system enhancement. Do we have any, are there any suggestions on how to make that clear?
I'm not particularly of a notion to share medical records with the health department from patients that visit the Tucson Medical Center emergency room.
Right. No, I understand, but what I'm trying to solve is the how do we increase transparency to the item so it's clear on what, to the general public what we're voting on.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
If I may.
Yes, Administrator Lesher.
Thank you, Chair Grijalva. I'm looking at the purpose, and perhaps it is the 100. First of all, this was the actual allocation of these dollars. The 180,000 was when approved by the board when we did the ARPA reallocation. But this perhaps it's $180,000 for the purchase of a billing module and maintenance for TMC's EPIC system electronic medical record, and the funds will be used to allow Pima County Health Department access to those medical record instances for inclusion into the community health hub.
So maybe it would be a TMC EPIC.
It's for the
EPIC system?
Yes, it's the billing and maintenance of TMC's EPIC system, which is the electronic medical record system.
Okay. Do you have enough information to sort of make those changes?
Yeah.
Melissa? Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
So will you go ahead and agree with the change in the revision? Thank you for bringing that up. I understand that you might not vote for it, but I just think it's important for that to be clear. Okay, so with the changes in the description for the agenda, we have a motion and Supervisor Scott seconded the changes. Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
Item passes 4-1 with Supervisor Christie voting no. Item numbers, can we take 23, 24, 20?
22.
Oh, I'm sorry, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. Can we take those together?
I have questions on 24 and 26.
Okay, so how about 22 and 23? We'll just do them at one at a time. It's okay. So item number 22 is multiple supplier accounts, and this is approval for these suppliers. I'll go ahead and move that item.
Second.
Have a motion, a second by Supervisor Scott. Discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed. Item passes unanimously. Item number 23 is an amendment to a supplier contract for appears for veterinary supplies for the Pima Animal Care Center. I'll go ahead and move the item.
Second.
Have a motion, a second by Supervisor Scott. Discussion.
Chair Grijalva.
Supervisor Scott.
At some point, could we get an update from administration on the use of the mobile medical unit to provide veterinary services to remote areas of the county. I know that's one of the reasons for the increase that is being sought, but I would really like to hear about the progress of that unit and the areas of the county where it's been most beneficial.
Any other discussion, questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item passes unanimously. And just for the record, or anyone's paying attention, is listening and not seeing a visual of the camera, Supervisor Hines is putting his thumb up when he's voting yes and thumb down when he's voting no. Okay, item number 24 is surgical government solutions for the health department. It's a contract with them, with McCassin Medical Surgical Government Solutions. Go ahead and move the item.
Second.
Have a motion, a second by Supervisor Scott. Discussion?
Madam Chair.
Supervisor Christie.
Yes, these are very nebulous as to the vaccines involved here. Which vaccines are we talking about? Because this $1 million is dedicated to vaccines, but it doesn't say what kind of vaccines.
Administrator Lesher.
Thank you. Chair Grijalva, Dr. Garcia, if you could elaborate. Thank you.
Chair Grijalva, Supervisor Christie. This is a master agreement that covers the balance of all the vaccines that we don't get directly from the federal government. So this will include everything from flu to measles to polio and anything that we don't directly receive from the federal government as part of our allocation of vaccines. What we use, for instance, in community events when we go out to Green Valley to vaccinate for the flu or RSV, this is what the master contract that allows us to purchase those supplies. Vaccines are extremely expensive, and we need the capacity to be able to make those purchases.
And
Thank you.
Madam Chair, thank you, Dr. Garcia. Madam Chair, we see other instances on the agenda today and in recently past meetings that unspent COVID monies or COVID monies that are available have been utilized. There's no COVID monies being utilized in this instance, and it would seem to me if there's going to be vaccines that would be an appropriate source of funding. Instead, it's coming from the general fund.
Did you have I have a question if you wanted to answer, just to piggyback on it. This is, you don't know what vaccines you're going to need right now, right? So you might need COVID vaccines, but it might be something totally different. And so maybe that's why I just wanted to ask, kind of piggyback on
And
his
along
question.
with my question,
Yeah.
how come this wasn't budgeted?
Okay, Administrator Lesher, Dr. Garcia.
Chair Grijalva, Supervisor Christie, Administrator Lesher, this was indeed budgeted. These are recurring costs that we have as a matter of doing business. COVID is actually a pretty good example, which this was a set of vaccines that were provided directly from the federal government to us for a period of time. That has subsequently elapsed. Those dollars don't exist, and that vaccine, direct supply vaccine from the federal government does no longer exist. And so we have to purchase them on the market, like we purchase any other therapeutic or immunologic agent. So with regards to Chair Grijalva's comment, I forgot what you asked.
It had to do more with why we weren't using COVID funds specifically, if we might be purchasing COVID vaccines.
So, apologize, Chair Grijalva. Supervisor Christie, you asked a very wise question, which is why aren't we using ARPA funds for vaccine? In fact, we are using ARPA funds for vaccines, not for this particular contract, but ARPA funds, there is a very substantial multi-million-dollar, multi-year allocation that has been set aside specifically to support the vaccine program and the vaccine monitoring. So that pays for people and supplies and processes. This is separate and apart from that because the need for vaccines in this community is that big.
Thank you. Supervisor Christie.
To the tune of $1 million.
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay, thank you, Madam.
Any other questions? Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
Item passes 4-1 with Supervisor Christie voting no. Item number 25 is an amendment for video and audio storage. I'll go, and this is for Pima County's Attorney's Office and Public Defense Services. I'll go ahead and move the item.
Second.
A motion is second by Supervisor Scott. Discussion?
Madam Chair,
Supervisor Christie.
I'll support this item, but I do have a question of why this was not in the county attorney's budget and it's coming from the general fund. Why wasn't this budgeted in her overall budget?
Administrator Lesher.
$2.5 million.
Chair Grijalva and Supervisor Christie, it is for both the County Attorney's Office and the Public Defense Services.
Oh, I appreciate that. Sorry.
Yeah, and so it's for both of the departments. If you see, it's extending our contract up through 2034. And so part of the additional allocation is not necessarily that they didn't budget it right now and are looking those dollars. It's expanding that contract and allowing for the full utilization of the Axon system that goes to both of our attorneys' offices.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I neglected to say Public Defense Services. Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item passes unanimously. Item number 26 is grant services contracts for community and workforce development. I'll go ahead and move the item.
Second.
Have a motion, a second by Supervisor Scott. Discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
Item passes 4-1 with Supervisor Christie voting no. Item number 27. This is for the Palo Verde Road and Michigan Street, a hawk light. And this is a project design and construction. And so I just wanted to clarify before I moved it. Is this just to design the project? It's $350,000 for 2
Over the 2
years.
years, yes.
Right.
Yep.
And it's to design it.
Thank you. And Mr. DeBonis, if you could explain this.
So, Madam Chair, members of the board, there are two components. There's the Hawk Crossing, and then there's a sidewalk improvement project. So there's two components of it. The funding amount shown here is for design. Overall, we have federal funds are entirely going towards the Hawk Crossing, and then for the sidewalk project, it's a combination of federal funds, RTA funding, and local transportation dollars. Okay. So yes, that amount is for design, but it is a larger project than just the Hawk. It's going to be introducing new sidewalk improvements along Palo Verde.
Okay, thank you. I'll go ahead and move the item.
Second.
I have a motion and a second by Supervisor Scott. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item passes unanimously. Item number 28 is robotic upgrade platform for the Sheriff's Department. I'll go ahead and move the item.
Second.
Have a motion and a second by Supervisor Scott. Discussion?
Madam Chair.
Supervisor Christie.
Yeah, once again, it would seem that if there's a platform that needs to be upgraded, that was an item that could be foreseen as an upcoming issue. And I'm wondering, again, it's coming out of the general fund, and why wasn't it in the Sheriff's Department original budget, knowing that it had to be upgraded?
Administrator Lesher.
Chair Grijalva and Supervisor Christie, I think Mr. Holmes can elaborate, but I believe this is one of these where it's still within the budget and the scope of the Sheriff's Department. Currently, we're just indicating from whence those dollars came. But Mr. Holmes, it is included in the budget. This is simply the allocation of this contract.
Chair Grijalva, Administrator Lesher, yes, that is correct. All these that reference general fund are general fund dollars that have already been approved for these departments, respective of their current budget as well. These are just amendments to the contract amounts.
Madam Chair, they're approved it from the general fund during the budgetary process?
Chair Grijalva, Supervisor Christie, yes, that's correct, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? All right, I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item passes unanimously. Item number 29 is for Jacob Sports Park, Administrative Department, Parks and Rec. I'll go ahead and move the item.
Second.
Have a well, actually, it's 29 and 30. 29 is the expense, and 30 is the revenue. Does that sound right? Okay, if we can move both of those.
Sure.
Okay, so I have a motion, a second for 29 and 30. Any discussion?
Madam Chair.
Supervisor Christie.
Yeah, I'm glad we brought them together to look at it at the same time. Again, this is coming from the general fund. Could we get it seems like we're paying a contractor for the amount of $200,000, who in turn is going to pay us back to operate the Mike Jacobs Sports Park. So we're paying somebody to become an operator, and then they're paying us back to operate the same thing. Could I get some kind of how this thing works?
Administrator Lesher.
And again, it's from the general fund. Isn't there a Parks and Recreation account for this, or a budgetary item that would include all this?
Chair Grijalva and Supervisor Christie, it is indicating that the funds come through the general fund to Parks and Recreation. It is in the Parks and Recreation budget. It simply came initially funds from the general fund as opposed to any other potential funding source. And our apologies, we did have a memorandum that went out with some additional explanation, but it did not go out until this morning. So I'm sure people have not had a chance to see it. So Mr. DeBonis, if you'd like to walk through that, please.
Mr. DeBonis.
Madam Chair and Supervisor Christie, the items that are on there, the two of them go in tandem. Under our new Workday system for procurement, you will see this on a going forward basis. So it assigns revenues and expenses differently in the system than what we've seen in the past. So you can expect to see where there's a contract that has both revenues and expenses, you're going to see two items on the agenda for your consideration. The $200,000 is an investment that the county is making towards facility improvements. And so whether we were contracting with this particular operator or not, we would be investing in those upgrades to the facility. So the county is putting $200,000 into facility improvements and repairs and upgrades. The revenue component is the revenue that we will be receiving from the operator. So we get a portion of the proceeds that are generated through the operation of programming and concessions and other types of activities that are taking place out there.
And Madam Chair, Mr. DeBonis, so why again from the general fund?
Madam Chair and Supervisor Christie, as Ms. Lesher indicated, Parks and Recreation is a predominantly general fund funded department. So their budget is comprised of maybe a small amount of grants, some fee revenues, but the predominant funding that they receive comes from the general fund and goes into the operation of that department.
Okay, and Madam Chair, is this a totally new management company?
Madam Chair, Supervisor Christie, correct, it is. It's Sports Facilities Management, LLC.
And Madam Chair, how does this new management company propose to operate things differently than the previous management company, which obviously did not work out?
Yeah, Madam Chair, Supervisor Christie, great question. So we have not had a single unified operator of that property. We have had different organizations manage different uses that take place out there. So there's a bicycle BMX facility, and so that has been operated by a single entity. You've got baseball, diamond field activities that take place out there that have been programmed and operated by individual separate operators. You have beach volleyball facility out there. Similarly, right, it's operated in a sub-optimal arrangement for that particular component. This, for the first time, brings together a singular unified operator for the site.
And finally, Madam Chair, I was in discussions with the Parks and Recreation in the past, we were informed that there's a special revenue fund that the director might have. Would this be appropriate for that type of a situation to come out of his special fund?
So, Madam Chair, Supervisor Christie, the special revenue fund typically goes into new facility development or expansion of existing facilities. So programmatically, staffing-wise, we're generally not using that special revenue fund. So when you think about converting sports field lighting from older technologies to LED technology, that would be a project that we would do out of the special revenue fund. So there's some nuance in terms of how those dollars are used, but really it's looking at expanding facilities or enhancing base facilities.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any other questions? Supervisor Scott.
Thank you. Ms. Lesher, Mr. DeBonis, under the public benefit section in the BOSAIR, it says near the end, the possibility of attracting special events which have the potential to attract additional visitors to the greater Tucson region. I don't know if this is possible, but I know that Mr. Knott with Mosaic Quarter is going to be working with a company that is very well versed, has a good track record in attracting especially youth tournaments to an area. Is it possible for the operator at Jacobs Sports Park to be able to interact with Mr. Knott and Mosaic Quarter to see if perhaps they can benefit from the expertise of that consultant that Mr. Knott has mentioned in some of his documents?
Yeah, Madam Chair and Supervisor Scott, we can make that connection. Also, we have tremendous partners in Visit Tucson and Sports Tucson. They are really advocates nationally and internationally for drawing tournaments and different types of events here into the community. So we will make all of those connections and really look to maximize this particular site as a destination for traveling events.
Fantastic.
It was a really popular destination for a very long time. It was kind of the only thing around. So I'm glad that we're putting some more investment in it because I do think it'll be a big draw. Anyway, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item passes unanimously. Onto real property. Can we take 31 and 32 together? Okay. Excuse me. I'm sorry. Ma'am, I'm sorry. You can't. Ma'am, I'm sorry. Ma'am, I'm sorry. We'll go ahead and take a pause for a moment.
But rather names him as a victim of the collision that he caused. A drunk driver killed my son. And you guys got him named as a victim. He killed my son. He hit my son who was riding his bicycle. He killed him dead. He pushed him into a tree and killed him.
I'm so sorry.
No, nobody in this office is calling.
Thank you, Dr. I'm sorry. Okay. Excuse the interruption. I apologize. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and move 31 and 32 together. Okay, I'll go ahead and move both of those.
Second.
I have a motion and a second by Supervisor Scott. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed. Item passes unanimously. Item number, can we take 33, 34, and 35 together? They're grant acceptances? No?
That's 33 and 34 and 35 I have issues with.
Okay, I'll just take them separate then. Item number 33 is the Friends of PAC. This is a grant acceptance for services and resources for Spanish language households through targeted marketing. I'll move the item.
Second.
Have a motion, a second by Supervisor Scott. Discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item passes unanimously. Item number 34 is the acceptance of a grant to provide the Pima County Attorney's Office change grant. It's a grant amendment, no language or no cost. I'll go ahead and move the item.
Second.
Have a motion, a second by Supervisor Scott. Discussion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
Item passes 4-1 with Supervisor Christie voting no. Item number 35 is acceptance for a grant of justice services to provide SIM mapping workshops. I'll go ahead and move the item.
Second.
I have a motion, a second by Supervisor Scott. Discussion?
Chair Grijalva.
Supervisor Scott.
I believe this project started before the tenure of this board. I don't know that we've ever gotten any kind of report on it, and would be very intrigued to hear about what it's accomplished since it started, I think, in 2016.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
Item passes 4-1 with Supervisor Christie voting no. Item number 36 is an acceptance of a grant for transportation. This is City of Tucson to provide a Pima County bus stop improvement. I'll go ahead and move the item, and this is just a amend grant language, no cost. Go ahead and move the item.
Second.
I have a motion, a second by Supervisor Scott. Discussion?
Chair Grijalva.
Supervisor Scott.
Just wanted to ask Ms. Lesher or Mr. DeBonis, it said that the costs were not invoiced during the terms of the IGA. Just wanted to know if that was just an oversight or something with regard to the IGA that we need to know about.
Madam Chair and Supervisor Scott, we'll have to gather that information and get back to you.
First, I had the question. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, whenever possible, I think it's helpful. I mean, sometimes the questions come up when we're here at the dais, but if staff is very good about getting us information, if they can, when we give them a little bit of a heads up sometimes. All right, we have a motion and a second for item 36. Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item passes unanimously. Now we're on to hearings. We have a bingo license hearing. Is anyone here to speak in opposition of this item? If not, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing and move approval for item number 37.
Second.
I have a motion, a second by Supervisor Scott. Discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item passes unanimously. And then we have, go on to the addendum. Item number 2, the County Fair Horse Racing Meet 2025. This outlines 4 county fair horse racing days at Turf Paradise Racetrack, not in Pima County, correct? Okay, for January 13, 21, 27, and 28. What is the pleasure of the board?
I'll move approval of staff's recommendation.
Okay. Thank you. And I have a second by Supervisor Christie. Any discussion? So even though it's our Pima County, right, Fair Horse Racing Commission, this is a racetrack outside of Pima County.
Chair Grijalva, yes, and it's the same thing as we done last year. The Pima County Fair Horse Racing Commission can hold their fair horse racing days in order to raise the revenue that might come from that. They hold it at Turf Paradise since our facility is not operational.
Okay, all right. Okay, we have a motion and a second. And then just a quick question about the commission. The commission, is that required by statute for us to have a fair horse racing commission? Is
Supervisor
it?
Grijalva, I don't know.
Okay.
Let's get back with you on that, what the legal requirements are.
Mr. Brown?
Yes, Chair Grijalva, the Fair Horse Racing Commission is required by statute to set the fair horse racing days.
Okay.
But are we legally required to have a commission?
If we could get some information on that, because I'm just wondering, I don't know how much of an interest this board has. It's something that has come up several times in discussions that I have with community members about if we're not having the days here in Pima County. We have other things, we have it in Sonoy, that we have in other places. Do we need a fair horse racing commission? I don't think we can solve that problem right now. I just wanted to sort of broach the subject and see where our colleagues feel. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item passes unanimously. Item number 3 is to provide support for domestic violence survivors to emerge. I'll go ahead and move the item.
Second.
I have a motion, a second by Supervisor Scott. I do want to take the opportunity to thank Mr. Ed Sakwa for his leadership with the merge and, congratulate Anna Harper, who's been named CEO of Emerge recently. All right, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor say.
No, discussion.
Oh, sorry. Oh, discussion. I apologize. Supervisor Christie.
Yes, and I'm in favor of course, on this area and this initiative, but I think it's very important that this, I believe it's a $2.1 million grant, and where it's going for should be, as it is in the background here, relayed to the community about where these monies are going when it comes to the Tucson Centers for Women and Children and Emerge. And it's just important to note that roughly $460,000 of this grant is going to bonuses for staff under what they are terming here materials and supplies. $300,000 are actually going to the construction of 25 residential units in the program. $83,000 for professional and outside services to deal with anti-racism and equity-focused consultant services. And finally, under construction, $60,000 is going to replacement of 4 outdated units. It just is something that I think people should realize, that there are monies going to other things other than to the issue itself, and I think it's important that they be conveyed publicly. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Yeah, I mean, I think that especially in a lot of nonprofit organizations, it is very heavy on staff and the need for some of these. I mean, the budget was accepted, so, and they're allowable. But if, there's any, I don't want to cast aspersions on Emerge and how they think that, training and staffing and all of those things. There's also other grants that might be in play here when we talk about some of the requirements for different training
Madam
programs.
Chair, I'm
Yeah.
not doing this to cast aspersions on anybody or Emerge in particular. I just think it's important to publicly note that this money, this taxpayer money, is going to those items in the entire program.
Right. We just don't know. I mean, I don't know what all of the materials and supplies
And I
are,
think
is
it's
my
important
point.
that maybe we should know, so.
I guess you can, it's a public program. I'm assuming we can get more information from Emerge.
Certainly.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item passes unanimously. And then item number 4 is for Sun Medical Contracting for an air-cooled chiller replacement at Keno Service Center. I'll go ahead and move the item.
Second.
I have a motion, a second by Supervisor Scott. Discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item passes unanimously. And then can we take items 5, 6, 7, and 8 together? These are all reappointments for different boards that we appoint to. So anyway, we have a motion. We have 5, 6, 7, and 8. I'll go ahead and move all of those items.
Second.
I have a motion and a second by Supervisor Scott. Discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item passes unanimously. And now before we adjourn our meeting, I just wanted to say thank you to Supervisor Lee for all of your service. It has been such a pleasure to work with you, and I think you've done a really amazing job in a very short period of time, and I think it's a testament to all of the people that you met with that have just been just really appreciative of your interest. There was a lot of ways that you could have taken this job in a year to be able, you could have just sort of said, I'm going to come to the meetings and I'll kind of keep the seat warm. And you really took it and made it your own. So I appreciate your service and leadership. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Chair Grijalva, and thanks to all my board members and also to Melissa Manriquez for being a fantastic clerk of the board, Sam Brown for all of his wonderful legal advice, and obviously our wonderful administrator, Jan Lesher, everyone on the dais. I do want to give a big shout out to District 3 staff. I want to mention that Maria Klukarova, my chief of staff, has been here 8 years, and Jen Cabrera, 15 years, and Anissa Ramirez, 10 years, all serving their time in District 3. And I do want to also acknowledge I like to call them our ancestors, but they're our predecessors, because you think about where we are now as a county, it really stems from all of the hard work, dedication, innovation that stemmed from those that preceded us. So I want to acknowledge all of the staff and all of the electeds who either served on this board or are other elected positions in the county, because we wouldn't be here if it weren't for all of them. And with that, I will say see you later. I won't say goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you. Our meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.